All right.
Be on our best behavior.
Yes.
We're being
I'm going to
recorded.
put on my serious, important face.
My presenter face.
Yes, I now have my presenter face on, and I'm very serious. So, well, hello. I'm going to first have my you'll hear what hat I'm wearing when I do this. So, I want to welcome you all into the Hendricks community. And this call that you're on is sponsored by the Foundation for Conscious Living, and it's part of our Big Leap Home online programs. And my name is Michele Yasuda, and I am the program director for the Big Leap Home online programs. And what I love is that these programs support individuals, organizations, and communities in generating agency, connection, and creativity on our shared planet. And the call that you're on this morning is part of how we show up in this way, how we express this idea. So I first want to just go over a couple logistics, and then we're going to go ahead and I'll put my other hat on as co-facilitator today. So before I do that, I have a couple of things. One is I want to invite you to join our Hendricks community on the Mighty Networks. This space is a place where you'll be able to hear about the latest Hendricks tools and practices, and also events like this one that you're participating in today, and different seminars and all that kind of stuff. So I have a link I'm going to pop into the chat right now for you. And if you haven't joined and you want to, you can do that. There is no cost to join. And there you go. So let's see. Is there anything else that I want to share with you all? Yeah. I want to invite everyone into a commitment together. So when you listen to these words, notice how they land in your body. Or I invite you to notice how they land in your body. We find that learning works best when we choose to bring curiosity, openness to learning, and appreciation of ourselves and others into the space. So, speaking of appreciation, our tradition in the bridge community, in this community, is to appreciate our facilitators. So, I'm going to say an appreciation for Heath, and maybe you could say an appreciation for Nicole, and then we can flip it. So, since we're doing things a little different today. So, Heath, what I really admire in you and what inspires me is the clarity that comes through you with this joyful light presence. So it's like, ooh, at the same time as this. And I really appreciate that.
Oh, I received that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
My turn?
Your turn.
All right. So, Nicole, how I experience you is this light bulb of fun, playfulness, and you're grounded and explosive. And I really appreciate how you show up and in this world.
Thank you so much. That tracks. Yeah.
Grounded and explosive.
Yeah.
Very succinctly and accurately stated.
That resonates. Yes. It makes it easy. Dean, you are just a delight. I love every opportunity I get to be with you. It feels warm-hearted, feels easy, feels like I'm in the flow of life when I get to be with you.
Ooh. You're all bubbly.
And Michele is one of my all-time favorite playmates. It is so easy to have a conversation about anything. And I noticed this deep recognition of you in me and me in you, and this kind of togetherness, this kind of familiarity, even though we haven't spent a lot of chronological time together, I really feel like I know you, and the way you include me in your mind and your heart. I feel like we're long, long time friends, and it's a lot of fun playing with you.
Mm. Ah, ah, take a breath and
Yeah.
let that in. And what flashed into my head was you two were at the very first Hendricks training. That's where we met you. And it's almost a decade ago. This summer, it'll be a decade ago
Right.
that we met for the
Wow,
first time.
cool.
Yeah, so that is
Exciting.
pretty cool. Yeah, it
Yeah.
kind of
That
flashed in
is.
my head when you were saying that, Heath. Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I just want to give a little context because I know some of you are familiar with the Hendricks Institute and some of you aren't. And for those who are not, all four of us have gone through the 2 hour, excuse me, the
Two,
2 year,
2 hours.
2 hours, yeah,
That's good.
2 year commitment of becoming a leadership and transformation coach, a big leap coach with Gay and Katie Hendricks. And the primary reason Nicole and I went was to enhance our relationship, to fortify and strengthen the integrity of our relationship. And I can tell you, without doubt,
Without a doubt.
that happened way more than I imagined. And all
Beyond
the
our
other bonus
expectations.
features,
Yes.
they continue to ripple inside and out. And so,
Mhm.
for those of you who aren't familiar with the work of Gay and Katie Hendricks, I strongly encourage you to check it out. It's an incredible legacy of conscious living, conscious loving, and it's such a playful way to use your whole body experience to really feel a felt experience of love, of connection, of presence. And this is a taste of what we want to share with everybody here, both Hendricks related materials as well as our own personal explorations, evolutions, experimentations. And we have some ideas we want to share. And I haven't asked the rest of the facilitators, but hopefully you're okay if I say, if you guys have questions or comments, bring them on, other people. Is that okay with everybody? The
Absolutely.
facilitators?
Yeah.
Because we know what we think is interesting, but we also want to hear from you about, oh, can you tell me more about this? Or I'm noticing that. But thank you everybody for being with us today to explore what does it look like to create a foundation of conscious love in our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. Thanks, Heath.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
love the idea of co-creating the experience that we all want to have together, not just the intention of the facilitators, but what is it that you're here to learn? What is it that you'd like to learn? So you might throw that into the chat too, and we'll address it. But also, waving your hands around at any point is absolutely welcome. So thanks, Heath, for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I love that you gave that context because it really is what we're here to do is talk about how we created, how anyone can create a conscious connection in their relationship and have the relationship itself be a source of safety, a source of nourishment, a place to come home to. And I know that I've experienced relationship in a different way in the past. And it was the total opposite of that. It was a space where I was most challenged, where I felt very fearful. I felt I couldn't be myself. And so the intention that we have is to have a through line, and it's something that we talked about. Heath and Nicole and I had a little conversation about, like, oh, what do we want to play with? And one of the things that popped up was a question of what is the through line for your relationship? What's the context that you seat your relationship in? And for Dean and I, it was as long as we're having a great time together, we want to be fellow travelers and we want to have this relationship together. So having a great time became a default setting that we didn't always experience. That's definitely so. But we came home to it over and over again, and we reminded ourselves, and I knew when I was off track because I wasn't having a great time. And I thought, uh-oh, something's going on here. I'm not having a great time. What do I need to look at? What do I need to address?
I love that. And I think having a clear anchor, a clear touchstone in any kind of relationship, whether it be a personal, intimate relationship or a professional, business-oriented relationship, having clear agreements where all the parties are on the same page is so important. And what you mentioned, Michele, about sourcing safety.
Yeah, that's the part that kind of hooked me, is that this relationship feels like home, and it is a safe place to come home to over and over again. And what are the practices that we use to create a safe place for Heath's feelings, for my feelings, for both of our feelings, and all the stuff in between?
Yeah. And I think establishing clear agreements, like your guys' through line about we're having a good time. This is what we're up to. This is our goal. This is our intention. One of our key intentions is loving kindness. You know, I have not encountered a relationship, a close personal relationship personally or witnessed with others where there aren't disagreements. Conscious living and loving doesn't mean you agree
all the time.
you're happy all the time. And this is where the importance of the pillars of integrity, where something like keeping and creating impeccable agreements and being able to change them when they're no longer working out is going to buttress and help reinforce the integrity, the foundation of what's happening. Because inevitably, whatever our goal, loving kindness, we don't always come off that way. And the first part of getting conscious, the first step is realizing, oh, I'm no longer in the container that we agreed on. We talked about being loving and kind, and there's some shouting, there's some whatever going on that doesn't feel loving, that feels hard, feels rigid. So determining also not only your context for how you would like your relationship to go and continuing to commit to it, but also having tools about when inevitably you go off track, you can easily come back together. And with practice, it's a combination for us of both experimentation and repetition, because we aren't going to anything new that human beings practice. You're not going to be perfect at. You're not going to be flawless in the beginning. I don't think it necessarily takes 10,000 hours to become masterful in every single thing there is to be, but particularly when you're dealing with someone very close to you, who you are investing your heart in, who you have chosen to be the caretaker, the guardian, the sentry, the safe place for your heart. It's incredibly important that you have agreements that support that. And you also have practical steps of when things do go awry, where you can come back to yourself and then come back together. And so I think this would be a great time for us to maybe practice a presencing move, maybe find an embodiment practice where we can create a reliable way for us individually to come home to ourselves, to presence ourselves. And we talked, maybe Dean mentioned you might want to share a little something about that.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate all the engagement we gotten from both of you, from all of us. And yeah, you know, often in a relationship, we can use, let me rephrase that. Often these tools that we're going to give you can be very simple, and yet to actually be aware of it and do it when you're starting to get into the when you start feeling that tension, so being able to pause, and I will get into that later, but being able to pause and stop in that moment to recognize that you're in this fear mode. And so we'll start off with one of these tools is your breath. You know, breathing. Yes, thank God we all breathe naturally and we're all alive, but to consciously take a breath, to consciously take that breath down into your belly, if you're not used to breathing into your belly, that's something I would really recommend you start playing with and experiment with that, because that's going to bring more oxygen down into your lungs, which will help with the reptilian brain to and your whole body can So finding a breathing practice, which Gay has, is very powerful. And so let's just start off with that right now, if you're all willing. So first, just notice where you are. Notice where you're located on your chair. Take a moment to notice your feet on the ground. Maybe wiggle your toes. There's my feet. And then if you've been practicing taking breaths into your belly, just slowly start bringing that breath down. And if you're not used to it, don't get, like, oh, I have to do this right persona. Just breathe your normal breath. But what I really invite you to do is breathe slowly and fully. So if you can, you take about a 5 to 6 second in breath, very slow and deep, and about a 5 to 6 second out breath. So if you count that, you can see that it's a really slow breath. So it's 5 to 6 seconds. And I encourage you not to hold your breath at any point. So as you're breathing in slowly, you're releasing it slowly into the out breath, and releasing and bringing it into the in breath, keeping it into a very easy loop of breath. We want to keep that breath flowing at all times. And it can take a minimum of 3 slow conscious breaths to start to feel the shift of coming back home to yourself. That's all it takes. Could take 3 breaths, but if you can take a minute of doing this, the power of a conscious breathing is beautiful, in my experience anyway. Yeah, and then maybe move your body a little bit if you want, move your shoulders around, and move your legs, kick your legs up. Then Heath, I think you have a practice too that we can
Yeah, thank you. And I want to reflect also.
I wanted to share too what for me, like what it also brought to mind, what you're talking about, Dean, is finding those big breaths, finding a safe place to come home to, also kind of led me to, well, how do I want to engage next? And I noticed that a lot of times when I'm in the throes of drama and in fear, that I often will close down. My breath will get short first, and then my body will kind of contract. And I usually am turning away from the situation that's happening.
Don't look. If I don't look, it doesn't exist.
And to reclaim my breath automatically started to let me open my posture. And it gives me agency to choose, do I want to turn back to what's going on? Do I want to turn towards what's happening? And I give myself the choice, because sometimes, like you said, sometimes we need to pause and move away and then come back to what's going on. And sometimes 3 of these breaths is enough. And then sometimes we need a bigger pause break. So noticing how our bodies are speaking to us, our body's wisdom is always communicating where we are, like what's going on, and how sometimes what our minds can't interpret, our bodies are constantly sharing. So for me, a big cue to know that, okay, I'm ready to move forward in this conversation, whether how big intense it is or how small and it might feel, is am I turning away? Am I contracting? Is my breath? Is there no breath? And is there once I reclaim my breath, can I turn towards and relax my posture and continue with my breath? And what a powerful tool it is. Thank you, Dean, for sharing that the breath is a beautiful doorway to reclaiming our own safety, coming home, and then and then Am I safe here?
and
Notice.
growing our resourcefulness.
Yeah.
And it's much easier to practice conscious breathing when you're feeling good or even neutral.
Yeah.
So we recommend that you don't wait till your next disagreement or criticism, blame moment to practice your breathing. In fact, for me, as I do my own breath practice, and it's been a few decades I've been practicing, and what I love about all these tools is they don't get boring. They get more efficient.
Yeah.
I become more efficient. They become more refined. I have more possibilities. So, oh, breathing deeply, oh, I've done that 100 times, 1,000 times, but not like this. Not this breath, not this body. My body is different. Every second, on average, 1 million cells just died in our body. Scheduled cellular death is called apoptosis. But the good news is every second, about 1 million cells on average are reborn. So in the newness that is happening, how can I not get stuck in the past and think things are going to be the same? Things should always be the same, because there is a certain kind of comfort that comes from familiarity. But I think it's a false sense of safety if we expect things to be the same all the time. So what I love about the breath is that it gives you an opportunity to check in with where am I now, presence ourself. The point of power is always in the here and now. But also it gives us agility. It gives us resourcefulness to feel our aliveness, to connect with our aliveness. And that's where we'll feel more alive. We'll feel more powerful than yeah. But I appreciate Nicole too pointing out, like, sometimes I am ready to turn toward, and sometimes I'm not quite there yet. I don't feel safe yet. I'm not ready. So practicing by yourself ways to feel at home, ways to source safety. It's not only about being a safe place for my person, for my relationship, for the other person to feel safe, but I need to feel safe too. Am I a safe place for my feelings to arise? Or do I say, oh, I shouldn't be feeling that. I don't have time for that feeling. Am I a safe place for my thoughts to be present? Or like, oh, I shouldn't be thinking like this. And we're all big advocates of not shoulding on yourself. Avoid shoulding on yourself and your partner. And your partner. It'll go much easier.
Yeah.
But the simple is sacred.
Yeah, Heath, I wanted to, I love where you were going, and I wanted to throw in a thought that popped up for me. Recently, I was in a group call, and one of the participants shared that breathing itself was very challenging for her, and that it brought up a lot of feelings. And you just brought up the idea of feelings, and I thought I just want to throw this in there, that not everybody experiences breathing practices as nourishing and easy and all of those things. Sometimes there's resistance in the body, there's resistance in the mind. So the suggestion that I have around that, and then Heath, or Nicole, you might have something else to add, or Dean, the is be with what is, and keep the commitment to expanding your capacity to have full breaths, so that you're slow, and having that be friendly. So committing to a friendly expansion of your capacity to breathe in all of the fullness, the ease of what your breath naturally wants to do. And so not forcing yourself into it in any way, but allowing that process to be natural. But like we talked about before, there's a through line, there's a commitment, there's a container for, I want to expand my capacity for full breath, and then letting the practice to bring you there. So I just want to throw that in.
And I appreciate you bringing up both the terms agreement and commitment. And so
there's a difference.
For those of you who don't know, an agreement is something that's made between one or more people. And a commitment is an agreement you make with the universe. And Nicole and I have relationship agreements. Like we favor openness, connection, and playfulness over criticism, blame, and complaint. But we also have co-commitments. We have relationship co-commitments. And that's something that we make with the universe, but also with each other. And so the commitment helps to reinforce our personal agreements because they really help shape how we organize our life in relationship to the universe, the world at large.
And we even keep our commitments in a frame for us to kind of see every day. So they're sitting around us, and it's something that we come back to regularly and remind ourselves of, and also refresh. So it's not just like set in stone. These are the 10 commandments and we'll keep them forever.
These are your marriage vows till you die. All relationships could use a little polishing over time.
Yeah, and evolution, right? Like that's the best part of doing this life in co-partnership, is like having a buddy to evolve with and to change and grow and to experiment new ideas and beliefs with. And as our ideas and beliefs change, so do our co-commitments.
So getting clear agreements.
And we're happy to share those with anybody if you wanted to see them.
yeah, our relationships and our co-commitments. And it's a wonderful starting place if you want to get more conscious with your partner and they're willing to engage as well, right? We don't want to force, we don't want to pull someone into something they're just not interested in. That just creates a lot more resistance. And
well, then I'm starting to take more responsibility for the relationship than my partner.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm noticing in the chat and this idea, and I'm wondering, Heath, if you want to give that a little read, or Nicole, and then decide if we want to jump into that now or you want to jump into that.
Sure, I'll be happy to. So this is, and apologies if I don't pronounce your name correctly, Arani and Simon in Greece. So today, and can you pull that curtain just a smidge? I think will help too. That's better. Today, I want to learn how not to lose my resilience when I have big challenges so it does not affect our marriage of 17 years.
Congratulations.
Congrats. Like 17 years, you have defied the odds. Good work, and bank what you've done. It's easy just to let time go by and not reflect. One of the greatest ways to embody appreciation is celebrating. And 17 years, regardless of it's an actual wedding anniversary or not, 17 years is an incredible opportunity to celebrate what you have created and how far you've come and the treasures you have co-created together. And they continue. In the last 24 hours, I had a big life challenge come up, and I already feel that I'm not going to be fun to be around. Yes, and big challenges do that to us, right? We oftentimes go from fun and flow to fear and guarding, and so how do we grow our resilience is one of those questions. And how do I grow my resilience so it doesn't affect our marriage? I don't think that's actually possible. Everything's going to affect your marriage, but I think what you're looking to is how can these challenges, how can these struggles be a net positive rather than diminish what's going on with the relationship. So there's lots and lots of ideas, and I'm sure we can all speak to them. I think having your cup filled is very important. So our teacher in Thailand, we're also massage therapists, he would say, how can you feed someone else if your bowl is empty? And I know people sometimes roll their eyes when they hear the word self-care. And I really believe that it is the singular most valuable practice in building your resilience. And this is why. It's because when you are regularly practicing self-care, what you learn is something that is going to support you in every choice, every moment, every day for the rest of your life. When you practice self-care, you become more aware of what your body's full body yeses are and what your body's full body no's are. A lot of times it's almost like when we're offered a possibility, oh, would you like to participate in this? Would you like to do and collaborate on that? It's almost like we're walking around in the dark trying to pick up some object somewhere in the room, but we don't really know where we're going. Self-care helps us to know immediately, this is my yes. I can rely on my body signals, how I'm breathing will point to whether I'm open, expansive, or whether or not my body's actually constricting and it's a no. And having that no is not negative. No is our launch pad for more yeses. So what I love about self-care, I really believe it is the practice of becoming self-aware. If you want more intuition, if you want more agency and access to your intrinsic power and capacity, practice taking exquisite care of yourself. But not only in the yin side, I think a lot of cultural commentary is all about, oh, take a bubble bath and get a massage. I'm a massage therapist. Go get a massage. Yes.
Yes.
Go take a yoga class. Yeah, these are some forms, and it's yin, and they're soft and cuddly and
Tender and sweet and nurturing and nourishing, but there's an equal amount of nourishment that's gained from standing your ground, saying no when you really mean no instead of yes when you mean no.
and it's the downside of self-care. It's that
Yeah.
fierceness where I'm going to show up for myself. I'm going to show up for my values, for the people, places, and things I care the most about. And I'm going to practice with the same power, the same weight of my yeses as with my nos. So self-care, breathing, moving, in fact,
Contacting, touching, yeah.
touching,
Mhm.
you know, gardening, walking your dog, journaling. You know personally what lights you up. I think everybody on this call knows at least one thing that when they do it, they feel better. And I think everybody on this call knows that one thing that they do, they know they don't feel better. If we could continue to commit to practicing more of the things that make us better and happier and healthier, and commit to doing less of those things that don't, it
Yeah.
sounds so simple. And all the deepest wisdom and truths of the world, I think, are both paradoxical and simple.
This is very true. Uh, oh, yeah, I'm taking in what you said, Heath, and it's just so beautiful. It's this is simple wisdom, like Dean was talking about before. This is really like when we say those words self-care, what you did was you gave um the breath to it. That's what's coming to me right now. You gave the depth of it, and I really appreciate that. And I was thinking about a couple other things that come to mind with going through a challenge and how that affects the relationship. And I was thinking about two things. One, um, we I we can feel I can feel all kinds of feelings at the same time. So deep grief at the same time as a little burst of excitement or joy. And that can be really confusing to have hold the different feelings. So one of the thoughts I had was this might be a time where you're moving in and out of different feelings, and that might you might have a story that's a burden to your partner. And I think sharing where you are, which is the other tool I was thinking about, is being able to express in a way that feels good to you and works for your partner. So there's a few ways that happens, but one of them is, are you available for me to express right now? And I'm not looking for any response. I actually just would love to be received right now. And then being able to share whatever it is, and it might even be an unenlightened blurt about what's happening. So like just letting it all out. I did that the other day in the kitchen, and Dean just was there for
Holding the
me.
space.
Yeah, holding the space,
And
you know, and I could see his face, you know, how it almost like, oh, wow, you know, a little bit of that or whatever it was. But I was able to just express whatever I needed to express. And that cleaned the energy. It opened up the flow inside of me because I wasn't trying to, like Nicole, you were referring to the the fiercer side of it. Both of you were that stuff can feel ugly or wrong. And the unenlightened part of me, ooh, I don't want to give that a voice, but actually giving it a voice, letting it be out in the open is so much better than trying to push it away, which gives it so much more power than it actually has. It's really like some of it's really silly thoughts that don't make any sense, but letting them through, giving that voice. So that those were a couple ideas that came to mind for that.
no, I really appreciated what you brought that up as far as um, expressing what you need to express, because often we don't follow whatever's happening in our bodies. We don't follow it. We want to like, no, I don't want to feel like that. And if we just let it come through, and even if you have no words to just blabble, blah, 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 just run around and move your body and express with your body what you might not be able to express with your words, so you can move that energy out and let it flow. So that's the self-care again, as Heath was saying. Part of this is all self-care of not pushing and holding in those little, not little, but big things, little things, whatever it is, just let it out, you know? You know, and as Michele was saying, asking your partner if they're available, because that way the partner can be ready, you know, like, yes, I'm not here to fix, I'm not here to do anything except breathe with you, hear you, and just, that's it. That's all I need to do. So it's less pressure on like, oh, do I have to do something here? Do I have to fix here? Or no, I don't have to fix here. What's going on? You know? So yeah, being a safe space, that's coming back for being in a safe space as a partner.
And I was just thinking of Heath and Nicole, if you have a word of wisdom around what if the answer is no, I'm not available in that moment.
Well, two things I want to point out. One, what an incredible power move it has been for Nicole and I just to use it. It sounds so simple. I have some feedback, or I have something I want to share with you. Are you available? Especially because not only have Nicole and I been together 25 plus years, but we've been owning a business
working together
for
too.
23 of those years. And so in the past, we would just interrupt the other person in what they were doing,
And
whether it
assume
was,
that they knew where the other person was thinking and what their thoughts were and what context they were living in.
yeah, and oftentimes it'd be a muddle of business or personal all mixed about, and maybe the other person was focused on a totally different task at hand, and it would lead to a lot of resistance. And not only with your number one using that line, I have some feedback, or I have something I want to share, are you available? It's really helpful when you're working with other people, if you're coaching other people, or when we're working with our yoga students or massage therapy students. Giving them the choice is so important. And most everybody's like, well, yeah, of course, yeah, why would you even ask that? They kind of do the Scooby-Doo, like, of course I'm available for feedback. Why else would I be coming to you or talking to you, kind of thing. And so they feel like, oh, I've got skin in the game. I said yes. Now they're more open. Now they're more available. Maybe, and it was a conscious thing that they decided. And sometimes they're not available. And that's okay too. But the rejoinder that we have a personal agreement with each other is that if they're not available, we create a by when. Well, I'm not available to discuss that now, but I'll be available after
How
5.
How about 5 minutes? Give me 10.
Yeah.
Or later on today at like after work.
So asking, would you be available, and giving the partner the other choice co-empowers each other. And then saying yes or no also co-empowers the partnership, as long as we're following up with a by when. When will we close the loop on this communication?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm wondering if anyone else has a question and yeah, and if that was supportive, if that answered your question, Arena, is it? And Simon? Yeah.
Yeah, and I did see another layer of their question, and Ernie, sorry if we're mispronouncing.
Hi, my name's Irini. I love everything.
Irini.
I love everything you said. Brilliant. Just
Oh,
before I didn't ask, I just said to him, "Come downstairs." I should know better because we've worked with Sybil Medder, who's amazing, and she's our friend, and she became a coach, and then
Oh, yay.
we love her work, and she told us about your talk, and we miss her sessions at the moment. So she said, "Well, listen, like, I go to these friends of mine." So we're here as usual,
Wonderful.
falling apart. But anyway, poor long-suffering partner here. But anyway, I'm sure he's going to live very grateful for what you said just now, because now
and based on your background, in your frame, I can see music is a highlight. And so find what your personal passions are, maybe some art as well. And whatever, and this is not just for you guys, but all of us on the call, find what you're already attracted to. If it's music and you love music and you love sounds, think of how you can bring that into the agreements of your relationship. If it's art and you like to craft things, or your hobbies. So work with what you're already interested in and then co-create with that. Because what I know from working with lots and lots of couples in our own relationship too, is there is no single formula that's going to work for every single couple. And even for two other couples, it's going to be a little different. So reinventing and inventing. Thank you for jumping in. I appreciate you dropping in on that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So are there any questions out there? Just go ahead and wave your hands around, or you could put your electronic hand out, anything that's bubbling up for anyone.
What is a full body? Yes. Jody, what a
Mhm.
great question.
Mm-hmm.
Would anybody like to? I can always use words, but would anybody else like to use their words?
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, how about we do a little practice? Because I think that this is useful for it's seems to be a theme today. Is how can I know what I'm actually wanting in the moment so that I can express that to my partner so that we can be in integrity, in alignment, in our wholeness. And so I'm open to however you want to do this. I think we probably both have the same type of practice about how to recognize your yes and no. So Heath, are you, Nicole?
I would say go for it, Michele, and we'll jump on kind of.
Okay, jump on and add
yeah,
in.
yeah.
All right, sounds good. So one of my favorite ways to recognize a yes is to align it with something that feels like a yes for me. So take a moment. I invite you, if you're willing, to close your eyes and picture some place that you know you love. It could be an imaginary place. It could be a place or space that you've been in. And notice the colors and the textures around you. Perfect temperature in the air. And now just give some sensitive awareness, some attention to how you're experiencing this in your body as you're thinking about this place that you know you love. You might notice some sensations that are rising in your body. And I notice that that's very much like the sensations that happen for me when I have a whole body yes. There's an uprising of energy. There's sometimes a bubbly excitement. There's an opening in my chest. I don't know if these are sensations that you noticed. And if you have difficulty noticing sensations, begin with simple ones, and your body is ready to give you these signals. It's just a matter of getting in tune with them. So don't make it hard for yourself if you're not noticing. It took me a while to practice this one. And how about Heath and Nicole? You want to take us into your favorite way of expressing a no, of feeling a no?
Feeling a no. Well, I can piggyback on your experience.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, we won't do it as long because it's not as fun
Mhm.
to hang out in the no place, but it can give you very accurate body intelligence, body wisdom cues, so that you can not only make choices with your mind, but you can also include your heart and your body, because our body is such a reliable communicator of truth, of what's accurate. However, the mind will often hijack or override
Yes.
those signals in order to fulfill some kind of expectation or obligation or some storyline. So we won't do this as long, but and maybe we'll do some movement to shake it off a little. But in your mind's eye now, eyes open or closed, imagine a place, and not the most traumatic or awful place, but imagine a place you're not comfortable in. And put yourself in that space, and don't spend too much time on the space, but give attention to what's happening inside. What's going on with your breath in this uncomfortable space? What's going on in your body? What's going on with your energy level? Maybe you get little zings of sensation or numbing. Look for all the little tendrils of body sensations. And then let's open our eyes a little and kind of
that up.
move your shoulders a little. We don't want to entertain that too long because it doesn't feel good, but I noticed my hands are sweating. I noticed my shoulders were tight. I was just in like a cubicle office for a couple seconds. And I was like,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I went from like a lifting smile to a contracting, like tightening. Even my lips got pursed, just getting smaller. Yeah.
So these are little experiments you can play and you can try out on yourself to build your body intelligence catalog, build the lexicon, so that your body gives you a full throttled language for your yeses. Oh, I feel this way. I notice that happens. The dust settles, the skies part, the clouds part, or oh, I feel clogged, I feel stuffed, I feel suffocated. And those places where we did the imaginary uncomfortable place, those would represent your nose. Here's one way, here's like a very quick way to know if it's a full body yes or not. Is there a tinge of a maybe? If there's a maybe, it's probably not a full body yes.
It's a no.
It's probably a no, and you're being nice, or you're overriding something to try to mentally get to a yes, even though your heart or your body or something else is just not quite in it. You don't want to hurt the other person's feelings. You don't want to disappoint them. This is often the language that will try to convert a true no into a false yes. And that often leads to resentment and all kinds of unpleasantness for anybody in that realm.
Yeah, bumpy results, I was thinking. One thing in that, a nuance there is a yes, and I'm scared.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that other side of that, of experiencing, you're ready to do something exciting, but then you get scared. So, so separating that two feelings are like, oh yeah, this is a yes, but I'm really scared. But it's a yes. And even a no, it could be a no, like I have adult kids, it could be a no, but inside is like, oh, there's a yes, I want to do this thing for you, but if I do it, it's going to enable their growth, so it's this, it can be that little bit of like, no, and like, oh, like, yes, I want to do this for you, and no, because it's serving both of us, you know,
Mm.
your growth and my personal 100% responsibility of going, no, I'm not really helping you if I do this thing.
Mm.
So yeah, really playing with that. Like, oh, it's acknowledging that all feelings are welcome at the same time too.
Wow. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, you know, be
Mhm.
scared and still excited.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
All feelings are welcome here. That could be in your relationship agreements with
Mhm.
your partner. However, you don't want to agree to that if it's not true. So it's
Yeah,
gotta-
I'm open to feedback anywhere, anytime, and any way is not on my commitment list or
No, we're not
agreements.
there. We're not evolved as of light. And all of the practices we've been sharing are experimentation. I love
Yeah,
that.
we tried it. It did not work.
It's a big move. It's kind of a
Not
roller
for us yet.
coaster. Yeah, I mean, what you're referring to, that's something that the Hendricks, they decided that that's what they would do with their feedback. They'd be open to it anytime, anywhere, no rules around it, right?
Mhm.
No, like this is how it's going to be. And it can open up space, but it also is a move that can cause a lot of stress along the way. So how do you, what is the agreement you do have that has supported you in being able to give and receive feedback? I'm curious.
Yeah, well, we are absolutely committed to revealing over concealing.
Mm.
And I think this speaks to a theme that we've had throughout this call is the importance of being forthcoming, of being honest, of being transparent. Something the Hendricks say, and I think it's very true, but it's almost opposite of how society operates. Transparency is safety. Now, in public discourse, we're taught if you can't say something nice, don't say it at all. You know, bite your tongue, withhold, withdraw. You don't want to hurt the other person's feelings. That's not compassionate. You don't want to do something that could lead to resistance or conflict. The problem with that is it's not being kind to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not giving yourself the humanness, the freedom to express your truth. So we have this commitment to reveal over conceal, and we often prefix that or open that with
Are you available?
Are you available?
Are you available?
And 9 times out of 10, yeah, totally. I want to connect. One other way I would say that transparency is safety, and it really, really helps, is with what's called a 10-minute stuff talk and a 10-minute heart talk. And
Mm-hmm.
I won't go through all the details. This is in Gay and Katie's follow-up book from their 1990 Conscious Living, Conscious Loving. They had a follow-up called Conscious Loving Ever After for those in middle age and beyond. And this revolutionized, we've been together 10, 15 years before we heard about this stuff talk. But we could talk about all our business, or if you're not in business together, all the household duties, all the logistic kind of things you got to get done in a 10-minute conversation.
And we put a timer on and everything.
Yeah.
and
and our ineffective business meetings that would last maybe 45 minutes or an hour and never feel resolved or complete have now become very efficient and easy. And then what is very important is a 10-minute heart talk. And this is where you set the timer for 10 minutes, or if you want to make it longer, go for it. But you and your partner agree to spend the next 10 minutes sharing from the heart and being available to listen and be in a safe place to receive the other person's feelings. Not to, as Dean and Michele were talking about, not to fix anything, not to necessarily tell the person, not telling them what
advice
to
or
do,
yeah,
but simply to share your heart
and to be with. Yeah, to be with.
And I think that as you share more, not only will the other person have a better sense of where you are, what you need, where you're not, but it also builds in the safety. Safety and trust need to be earned. I don't care if you've been together for decades, you can continue to reinforce and fortify how deeply held and safe you can place your heart and soul into another person, how much you are willing to trust the other person and yourself. And I think revealing is one of my most powerful and scary moves.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And what you said is so incredibly important, that transparency brings safety. So even though it can feel really scary, and that's that I have a yes to revealing this, and I'm scared. It's what Gay Hendricks calls the 10-second sweaty conversation. It really only takes about 10 seconds to get it out, and and now I'm in flow again instead of being blocked up. Now my partner might be out of flow for a little bit because of what I revealed. And am I willing to be with whatever feelings might arise in my partner? So that's one of those commitments, is I'm willing to be with my own feelings, and I'm willing to be with my partner's feelings. And I'm gonna be recommitting to that 500, 1,000 times, because that's a skill. And I and Dean, we're on that path, and we get off the path and we get back on the path and we get off the path. But what's wonderful is that we have built that trust through coming home to what's our through line. So,
Mhm.
like Heath and Nicole, you talked about kindness, and that's certainly part of I'm not having a good time if I'm not treated and treating with care and kindness. And so
Mm.
that coming back to what does it look like to have a good time? I'm in alignment with myself. So there's lots of pieces to
Yes.
this, and we've given you a taste of all of it. And the in the chat, I did put that chapter on the stuff talk and heart talk.
Awesome.
And
Love
there's
that.
tons of tools on the Foundation for Conscious Living.com. I'll just put that in here as well. And you want to?
We could talk about this for hours and hours.
Yeah.
It's so much to dive into, and
Yeah.
and talking about commitments and agreements right here. I know we're at the end of our time, but agreements can always be brought up again. If it's not working, you can make another agreement. So that's another way. And then commitment is just recommit. Commitment is getting in the pool and starting the commitment. And if you make a mistake, to be kind, as Nicole was saying, be kind to each other. Like, oh, we're going to make mistakes. How can I recommit to whatever goal that we're striving for?
Mm. Well, I want to thank everybody here, Michele and Dean, Nicole, myself. The fact that you took an hour of your life today to think about conscious love, a foundation for connecting with the people that you most care about. This is exactly what's needed in the world, for us to be creative, for us to crowdsource and collaborate with like-minded people from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for the Hendricks Institute. Thank you for your own curiosity. And I hope we all get to connect again really soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
everyone.
everyone. We'll see you next
Thanks,
time.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.